Hello and welcome to the Motivated by Love podcast, a podcast designed to help LDS young adults navigate relationship anxiety and relationship OCD. I'm your host, Ksenia, and I am so excited to be with you today. This is the third part in our series about overcoming spinning thoughts, and I'm so excited for what I have for you today. Today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter than some of the other ones, because we already touched on a couple of them last week. So, if you remember, anytime you feel like you're spinning in your mind or on different thoughts, or just are really struggling with anxiety or OCD in your relationship, there's probably something called an urge cycle going on. Now, if you don't remember what that urge cycle is, I'd encourage you to go back to the first podcast in this series, right? The first one on spinning thoughts and the urge cycle. And that's going to explain way more in depth what that cycle is. But just as a reminder, the urge cycle is made up of a trigger, which is anything that activates you, triggers you, could be internally or externally. And then there's going to be an urge, or it's something you feel like you need to do to get rid of the anxiety that comes from the trigger. And then there's a result. That result is going to be either you feel better, you feel relieved, you feel like everything's going to be okay, or you feel worse. You feel like you are in the wrong relationship and you have evidence for that, and you feel even more anxious. And both of those results perpetuate this cycle. And so today what I really want to talk about is how to start distancing away from the cycle. And this is like a little in-between podcast between last week, where we talked about what some of those urges are that you might do, right? Like checking your feelings or confessing how you feel to your boyfriend or to your mom. Last week we talked about those urges. And I know I said last week that I want to teach you how to start breaking that cycle. Now, today, I'm adding this in. This is like a little in between. We have to start distancing from the cycle before we can break it. And so, this is so important when you're overcoming anxiety and OCD. A lot of us with relationship anxiety and ROCD are really, really good at fixing things. And we really want to fix our relationship or fix our brain sometimes so that we don't have to feel anxious anymore. And so today's episode is so important because it trains your brain how to start distancing from this urge cycle without trying to fix it frantically. Because frantically fixing your brain is also another urge. We're trying to get rid of anxiety. We're trying to get rid of any negative emotion, right? Resentment. Like I said, anxiety. And so today is so important because we have to start to distance from this cycle without frantically trying to change it. Next week, or next episode, I will offer you some ideas on how to start breaking this cycle. But the work that I teach you about today is so critical for your brain before it starts to do some of those things. And we talked about a couple of these last week, but I just want to go a little bit more in depth into, there are 4 things today I want to talk about on how to distance from this cycle. The first one, this is one that we talked about last week, but it's just acknowledging the loop, noticing it. This could be writing down your trigger, your urge, and the result. Whenever you notice yourself looping, it's just starting to recognize the loop, notice when it's happening. And this is a beautiful way to start distancing from it. in the beginning, it's so easy for the loop just to be automatic, natural. It's just kind of what we do. And we think it is who we are and just how our brains work. But when we're able to notice the loop and acknowledge it, we're able to start recognizing that it's not us. That this loop is just something that your brain is doing to help you. So that's the first thing. And that's going to start to slow the loop down, just noticing it and keeping track of it. The next one, this is something called disenchantment. And in the book Unwinding Anxiety, Dr. Judd, she's the one who comes up with this. So disenchantment is basically just noticing that your loop doesn't actually help you. So noticing that your loop is just causing more anxiety or that you actually aren't getting the result that you want. So in her book, Unwinding Anxiety, Dr. Judd uses the example of a smoker. And so a smoker, you could put smoking in the urge cycle, right? There's usually a trigger. The urge is going to be smoking, and then there are different results that come. Now, Dr. Judd points out that if a smoker is working on disenchanting their smoking, what they can do is realize that when they put the cigarette in their mouth, that it doesn't actually taste good, that, right, like really noticing what it tastes like and that it's gross. Noticing that they don't actually feel better after they smoke, and just really showing their brain that smoking doesn't give them the result that their brain is looking for. And so with anxiety, we can do the same thing. We can show our brain, oh, doing this loop didn't actually help me feel less anxious. Maybe I felt relief for 5 minutes, but then I felt the need to Google again. Or I felt like I needed to call my other sister to ask her what her opinion was. Right? We can start to notice, okay, I did that loop and it didn't have lasting relief. Or it caused me even more anxiety. And so as we start to use this disenchantment, it teaches our brain that the loop isn't actually helping. Okay, the next one, and we talked about this one last week a little bit, but it's curiosity. When we notice ourselves looping, it can be so easy to want to judge ourselves. And that's so natural because a lot of us are taught that the best way to change something is to judge ourselves into change. But curiosity is so much more empowering and it feels so much better than judgment does. Curiosity is that shift from, oh my gosh, I can't believe I keep doing this loop, to, wow, that is so fascinating that my brain keeps on wanting to do this loop to help me feel better. I wonder why. Or, whoa, that is so interesting. I wonder how my brain is trying to help me. Or, whoa, that is so interesting and fascinating that my brain did this loop again. I wonder how my brain is trying to serve me. Now, this subtle shift from judgment to curiosity, it again helps us start to distance from our loop. We start to almost take our brain out of our head and hold it in our hands and look at it, just holding it in our hands. And we're like, oh my goodness, this cute brain. I wonder how it's trying to help me. That is so fascinating that human brains do this. Wow, okay. And you can gain a lot of really beautiful insights when you're looking at your brain from this place of curiosity instead of judgment or trying to fix it. Turns out your brain is working really beautifully. It's really trying to help you. And that leads right into the last one. The last distancing strategy is compassion. And that is where we just notice how hard our brains are trying to help us, bringing so much love and softness to this part of your brain that is trying to protect you. Right? You have this amazing brain, and it is trying so hard to keep you safe. Now, the loop might not be working, right? You might not actually, as you're doing your looping, you might not actually feel better, or you might feel more anxiety, right? But your brain is trying its very hardest to help keep you safe. So the way that we can practice compassion is, oh, thanks, brain. I know you're trying to help me. Or, I'm so grateful that you're trying to help me be safe, or that you're trying to protect me. Thanks, brain, but I've got this. And that shift in compassion helps us to distance again from that loop. We recognize that all of this looping it doesn't define you. It's just your cute brain trying to help. In General Conference this year in April 2025, Sister Runia, she has this quote and I love it. It goes right along with this. She says, "You need to hear this, so I'll say these words out loud. You are not the voice in your head or the mistakes you have made." But I really want to focus on that line. You are not the voice in your head. You are not your looping. You are not all of your thoughts. It's just your amazing brain trying to help you. So, just as a quick overview, our loop distancing strategies are noticing the loop, disenchantment, which is just noticing that it doesn't help, curiosity, and compassion. Now, I want you to think about which of these 4 loop distancing strategies really resonate with you. Which one do you feel a pull towards? And whichever one that is, I invite you to practice it this week. To practice noticing the loop, or noticing that the results don't help you, or being really curious about it or compassionate with it. And as you work on distancing from the loop, you'll notice that your brain doesn't have so much power over you. You get to be an agent. You get to be, instead of acted upon, you get to be the one that acts. Your brain, as amazing it is, it doesn't just get to default to anxiety all the time, and you have so much more power over it. There is so much hope in overcoming anxiety and OCD. And these small ways that we practice distancing from our looping thoughts are so powerful. All right, this is all I have for you today. But feel free, if this podcast is helping you, feel free to leave a review. That would really help me and the podcast. But until next time, have a great week, everybody.